So today we're going to be tying just a simple scud. I've got a size 14 lightning strike and just a 2.4 millimeter gold bead. So you go ahead and start your thread wraps. And go all the way down. To where it kind of starts to get a good bend in the hook. Trim your tag end. And I'm using fluorescent shell pink ultra thread size 70. Then you're going to take, for the ribbing, just a piece of tippet. Wrap your thread back up a little bit. Doesn't have to be even, because it's all going to get covered up by dubbing. You wrap your tippet, you tie your tippet in on one side of the shank of the hook. For this, I'm just using 3X tippet. I've used 4. It just, you don't want it to be too big. And then you tie in some of this. Some Sow Scud back 2 millimeter. This is the tan color. Which I actually really like the tan the best, probably, because Scuds and sow bugs both kind of have a darker back as opposed to their underbodies. Their underbodies are really light and translucent colored, but they kind of have a darker back. And I think it just kind of helps them stand out. Then you're going to take some Ice Dub UV Cinnamon for this one. But you can, obviously you can vary the colors depending on what works for your water. Kind of just dub a thin noodle. Onto your thread. Just kind of wrap it up. And you kind of want to build a taper a little bit, I've found. You'll see a lot of other Scud patterns. They kind of get real big in the middle. Oh, that's a little too big. Kind of got a big middle section and then kind of taper off the rest of the way. Just a little bit more. Nothing too serious. Right there is about right. Then you're going to take your backing, your Scud backing, pull it over, kind of stretch it a little bit, hold it, make sure it's good and taut. And I'll do 2 wraps over, actually I'll do a third wrap over the top of it. Then kind of pull it back a little bit, pull it tight. Just do a couple wraps. So it sits like that. Let me get this out of the way. Then you're going to take your tippet, used for your ribbing. Just going to kind of wrap it up. Just kind of segment the body with it. Just kind of evenly spaced. Then I'm gonna pull this back actually. Wrap it right behind the bead and then kind of crisscross to capture it with my thread. So I did 2 over. I'm gonna do a couple under just to be safe so it doesn't slip. Take my scissors, cut that tippet as close as I can. Do a few more wraps just to make sure that tippet is good and covered. That'll work just fine. Take your Scud backing, pull it kind of tight, and trim it. Kind of shorten your tag in. Take your thread, and I'm just going to do a hand whip finish. Right on top. Kind of rock it in place so it's good and tight. Trim that out. Then I'm going to take it. Guess I'll do it in the vise so you can kind of see. And you can use Velcro. I just use the pointy end of my scissors. And you're just going to kind of pick at the dubbing like that. And I mean, make sure it's pretty good under the body. And then do a little bit on the sides too as well, just in case. Move my finger so you can actually see it. And then if you do that and kind of grab it and just pull it out a little bit, it kind of comes out a little bit better. Let me slick it back. Velcro's a lot easier, but a little less control, obviously, because it just kind of brushes everything up. And then one thing that I like to do, put it back in the vise so you can see, these are really, really long fibers. I like to trim it just past the hook point. So it's got a little bit of length to it, but nothing too excessive. Just take it out and finish up. So there it is. I like to trim the back fibers. They kind of get brushed up over the back just to make sure that back is seeable. And then for a little bit of safekeeping, put just a little dab of Zap-A-Gap just to lock in that ribbing and the, that was a little bit more than I wanted. Just lock in that ribbing and the Scud back and the thread, and then I'll flip it over as well. I mean, head cement works just as fine, but and then I'll flip it over and do just a tiny, tiny dab. If I can manage a tiny bat, no. Those Zap-A-Gap's coming out really quick, but just a tiny little dot on the knot just to make sure it doesn't slip out. And that is your simple kind of my little tweak to it. Simple Scud, sow bug, whatever. More of a Scud, really. It's not very sow buggy, honestly. But this is a great high water pattern because the coloration kind of looks like a dead sow bug. It's getting flushed out, and it's got good color to it, so it can definitely draw some attention. But that's it. Thanks for watching.